Before we get into this episode, I just want to let you know that 101 Part-Time Jobs is all about supporting and contributing to this culture we love. We want to support alternative and independent artists. We ourselves are an independent podcast, brand, production company. If you wanted to support us, the best way you can do that is to leave a 5-star review on this episode and subscribe to the show. If you're able to do that, that would be amazing. Thank you.
This episode is brought to you by FX's The Beauty Official Podcast. Join host Evan Ross Katz on the official podcast for FX's hottest new series, The Beauty, taking you behind the scenes with its amazing stars as they discuss the show's most jaw-dropping moments. Featuring Evan Peters, Anthony Ramos, Jeremy Pope, Ashton Kutcher, Rebecca Hall, Bella Hadid, Megan Trainor, Isabella Rossellini, Jessica Alexander, and Ari Grainer. Search FX's The Beauty wherever you listen to podcasts.
Our office now you're filming in here?
I think so. I think my producer emailed.
£2,000 in it.
Is that it?
We got it in cash. Thank you.
Thank you.
You witness and flagging there.
That was great. With my first band, Palma Violets, we were like really lucky. You know, we were kind of signed really fast, but a year prior to that I was still in sixth form in Wimbledon, but I was working part-time in this really expensive clothing shop called Matches, and I sort of lied to them. I didn't say I was at school, but I sort of, you know, would take off my blazer and just my shirt, and I'd work, you know, Friday afternoons and then over the weekend, you know. And it was all just to kind of, because rehearsal spaces in London were so expensive.
Still are, yeah.
Know? And it's just been, that was what we needed, you know. We didn't know how to work a computer, or we could only make music in a kind of live sense. Yeah. And I couldn't make enough for a rehearsal room, and the way it kind of worked was on a kind of commission basis, right?
Well, for selling these clothes?
Honestly, yeah, it would. So, but the problem is there was like a hierarchy. So you would have to, if you know, I was definitely the lowest of the chain, so I'd be backed by the shoes, you know, and you'd sort of catch your customer as they walk in, but it's got to go through the net, you know, and everybody's judging everybody. And I just remember this one time that Ronnie Wood comes in, right, and no one in the shop knows who Ronnie Wood is, and I'm like, oh my god, it's Ronnie Wood. This is definitely, you know, you've got to imagine there's sort of 4 tiers before me, and he gets through tier 1, you know, they just let him go past. He looks a bit scruffy, you know, and then it's through to, I'm like, this is an open goal. He's coming straight to the shoes at the back, you know. And he finally gets to me, and he drops a load of cash, and he had just he had this girlfriend at the time, and she came later, and he was like, oh, can you show my girlfriend to the shop? And she spent loads. So I made this kind of commission off this, left the next day. Everybody was so pissed off at me. You know, this was like the one, people wait 10 years for a customer like that, you know.
Drop a few grand or something.
It was crazy. And then, basically everybody hated on me the next day. And I was like, I'm going to leave. And then I went on Gumtree and found a sort of artist studio that was really cheap, and had enough cash to sort of pay the first 4 months, you know. And that was it, you know. And that was kind of,
I think most people hopefully get those opportunities, you know, a couple of times in your life. You just get a little bit of a win, whatever it is. You just get a touch of bolt of lightning.
And Ronnie Wood, if you're watching, thank you, you know.
How about you? It's Rupert, isn't it?
Luciano,
yeah, sorry,
filling in for Rupert.
You made the record with Rupert. Are you involved in this record?
Yes, yeah. I did lots of the backing vocals and some of the bass,
Nice.
And some keys.
Yeah. Does it feel cool being like, I mean, like, we're adults at this point, right? A bit on the nose to say, but it's like, you know, being in a structured environment, you were no longer kids, just being like, oh, let's just fuck around. Like, you're still fucking around, but there's an element of like a workflow to it.
Yeah, there's a balance.
Like a discipline, whatever.
Yeah,
dry to say, but
yeah,
what it is.
Yeah, we were talking about it earlier, it's really difficult, especially it's always seen as sort of like a freelance job.
Yeah.
So it's being able to, there's no hours you should be working.
Yeah.
Then there's no hours you shouldn't be working as well.
Makes it a bit harder.
Yeah.
But you don't want to complain about it because it's sick.
Yeah.
But it's also like, oh, well, this is confusing.
Yeah, completely. And it's also being able to get that balance right of, like you were saying, sort of doing the jobs on the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, if you're after school or whatever, or any part-time jobs to make sure ends meet, and then being able to fit in creative sort of hours around that at the sort of back end of the night or first thing in the morning, whatever suits you, is really tough. And I think sort of maybe part of growing up is realizing that actually you got to be a little bit more regimented with that.
Yeah.
And
I'm fascinated by that element, that thing about like being serious about having fun.
Yeah.
I'm down with that.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to be very serious about drinking 10 pints with my friends.
Yeah.
I also want to be very serious about making this show, which is fun.
Yeah.
It's great.
You
want to be serious about it.
Yeah. I remember like the first couple bands I like started playing with. It is very much that. It's like it's just fun.
Yeah.
It's getting in a bus or a van and going somewhere and then drinking and then coming back. It's just like an away day.
For sure. Away day, that's the way. You don't have to be a football fan to get that.
No. Yeah. And then you do worry that will sort of go away, but not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Chilli, you've had like such an interesting story of that Palma Violets time and then that like ending, as bands do.
Yeah.
Right? But you were still super young. You were like early 20s.
I was super young for it to finish, but it was like pretty amazing experience. But then on the other side is this sort of, it was almost starting again and rebuilding,
Do you remember like the day or like the period of time where you were like almost like wake up after like a bit of a trip and it's like, whoa, okay, new world?
I remember it really vividly because every time I look at a Guinness I envision this.
It must be quite a lot.
It was
I can see a Guinness quite a lot.
It was, a lot. And it was basically I was really lucky. My mate Adam was managing a bar. I'd never worked in a bar before. So I started working there again. And some fans found out where I was working. And they came in and were begging me to sign my name in the Guinness. And I was like, I can barely pour this thing, let alone, sign my own name in this. And I just remember being really freaked out by that whole experience, It became a real reality of like, and it was I definitely found it tough. There's like a complete death of an ego, that's just like,
you're making £8 an hour, at the pub.
Yeah, it wasn't so much a like financial thing. The work has never scared me, It's like, it's just more of, I suppose it's just like, wow, that felt so quick, or something.
Did you like reconcile that period of your life?
It's
quite a serious question, but it's a serious situation as well. A serious situation.
It felt very serious at the time. I basically just went and started had to try and rejig myself and find myself again. And that's where I met Rupert and we formed a really brilliant friendship. And I think just creating again, it fills such a massive void in your psyche, it makes you feel, you're a musician yourself, it's like, if you make something brilliant that you're proud of, that can last you a week, man. It's like, it was truly brilliant. And I started just getting into new things, and I feel like I definitely struggled with stuff to write in my first band. I just sort of took from books and movies. I didn't have that much first-hand experience that I felt okay to share with the world, at that point.
You're so young.
That 2-3 years that I was there at the pub was the most, I would consider probably the most important time for me,
It's interesting. I've been thinking a lot about this recently, how like, I think it like working a shite job is shite.
Yeah.
Right? there is something, and you have to be almost careful. I mean, I argue with my partner, my fiance, about this all the time because she grew up and she works full time when she was 16. I definitely didn't. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So when I complain about something, she's like, "Shut the fuck up." So it's really hard. You know, everyone's different. You know, I think that's the preface to what I'm about to say here. But like, you know, those things you just said it. You can get something from those times
100%.
if you're kind of able to. You're able to trick yourself into it.
In retrospect, is always, you know, definitely at the time, you know, but this whole, you know, the Dead Dads Club, everything that was all formed behind that bar. Yeah. And I think you also have time, you know, to well, for me, I needed just a bit of time to kind of reevaluate and you know, figure out a few of those things. Time's
like the most expensive like commodity, isn't it? Right, just like having time, just think, right?
Yeah,
there's something in that.
First job at like 16 was working like on the box office for Bushel, you know, in Shepherd's Bush, and then sort of going and sort of I worked at a record shop for a long time.
You're amongst it.
Yeah. I mean,
you kind of learn the language.
Do it. Yeah,
exactly.
Places, exactly. And I sort of randomly fell into starting to do sound engineering because and trying to understand that side of things, and then looking at the sort of booking side of work. And if you're not able to do the exact thing all the time, you know, it's sort of being able to keep in that conversation or meet people, you know, because those sort of people gravitate towards those spaces.
It's interesting, like you got a knowledge of like the live stuff and the production stuff, because like this is stuff that you need to know. I mean, you don't need to, but like probably helps.
Yeah. For us, you know, it's been brilliant. Yeah. All your knowledge for that, you know, booking great shows and understanding, you know, these are things that I still don't understand, you know, and Luch has such a brilliant, you know, way about it, and he just has a different head.
And is that something like you'll be booking a show or a tour and you'll be like, you're messing each other, you're like, how does this work? What does that mean? What's that acronym?
It's a lot of that. It's just a lot of sort of even just as simple as getting sort of like tech specs over and stuff like that, and knowing what a venue has and that they're not going to provide anything else, or you know, it down to anything. There's lots of sort of small details to every area of it that I think it's important knowing. If, like I said, if you're not playing or you're not writing music at that time, it's worth finding out, you know.
Because even if you have a manager, you still got to know your own shit.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? That pays off.
Definitely, it's worth doing it. Like I think you've always got to be able to do it yourself.
Yeah. We were literally just before we met you there on the corner, we were just discussing about how much now has to come from the band. You know, you mentioned managers and labels, and you know, I think now more so than ever, I think it's really got to come from the artist. The artist, I just don't think there's the capacity, or maybe there's not enough money left in the industry or something, but there is. It's really, I've noticed such a shift, you know, and that's where I felt really out of my depth with a lot of this stuff. You know, and that's where Luch was just profoundly important for figuring out those kind of bits, you know.
Big part of your story is joining Fontaines.
Yeah.
And having a gig there. And not only a gig, but, you know, glazing you here, but it's true. It's like what you've added to that band is like so amazing, you know, especially for the songs on the new record, where like Starbuster, where it's like, oh, it's, you know, the camera's on you when that song starts. And you've added so much to that. How much of a life-changing thing has that been over the last like couple of years?
I mean, it's been an unbelievable change. I mean, I can take no big credit, you know. I just feel like I just play what the lads need to be played, you know. And it's been single-handedly one of the most transformative moments of my life, you know, that I never thought I'd experience anything of that level, you know, and to see that, you know, that many people in one place elated is something that just, I don't think it'll ever leave me. You know? It's like truly amazing.
Do you feel like you've been able to like bring your own like personality to them? I imagine they were probably listening to Palma Violets when they were younger. So have you been able to be yourself?
100%. I mean, first and foremost, they're brilliant friends of mine, you know, and I would do anything for those guys, you
awesome.
know. And I'm also just a fan of their music, you know. I remember being in my first band, and we just cut our second record, and my manager gave me their single, and he was like, "Oh, you should listen to this." And then I remember going home and listening. I was like, "Oh my God, man, this is so good." And I called him up and I was like, "We've fucking made the worst album ever, man. This is like, just lyrically and musically, it was the most exciting thing I'd ever heard, you know." So when that happened, it was
awesome.
I love being in a band, you know. I really enjoy, you know, a group of like-minded people together, and if you're lucky enough to travel and to do that and experience these different experiences together, it's a real kind of magical moment. And especially the time in which it's happened to me, it feels, I'm a little bit older and I'm just so appreciative of it, you know. Take it really seriously, you know, like we were kind of talking about, where serious fun, you know. And it's like I feel so fortunate to be able to have that.
Most of you watching or listening to this will know someone, if it's not yourself, who plays in a band, puts out music, and are sometimes confused about the way it works. Well, DistroKid is here to help. Now, as well as being able to put out your music, you can get your t-shirts printed there. You can create a merch store in minutes, no upfront costs. DistroKid takes care of all the printing, shipping and support, so you don't get waylaid by the logistics, and you can focus more on writing and putting out good music, right? And just like the distribution, DistroKid never takes a cut, and the artists, you keep 100% of your earnings. It's that simple. Head to distrokid.com/direct. Select the type of products that you want. You can get mugs, shirts, tote bags, and then pick up your album artwork and the price that you want to sell your merch for. Head to distrokid.com/direct. There's a lot going on the record. Like I said it before recording, but it is like a real journey. I'm trying to avoid that word, but it is like, you know, it's a trip. Best way I could describe it. You know, by the end of the record, you're like, whoa, you know, I feel I've been washed around. Yeah. And like there's like some Beck in there. There is like, the production's fucking great.
I mean, we can take no credit for that. I mean, that's Carlos who, I mean, it was a fucking mess, that album, before I sent it to him. Really? You know, it was a real, you know, if you think it sounds wide, you know, I'm going to use wide. It was, I felt so sorry for him. I was like, are you sure? Because it was, you know, it was there, the soul was there, you know, but it had no real sonic identity or anything. Yeah, and he, you know, we had like 4 or 5 days between a tour, and, you know, which is like, seemed impossible. Yeah, but
you got to spend the first couple of days of that just leveling out.
You usually do. I mean, we just didn't have enough time to do that, you know, and that's kind of down to Carlos. And he is so good in there that he really created a brilliant environment for us to capture something, and because of the notion of, like, you know, what it's about, you know, about the death of my father, you know, we decided we wanted to do sort of one takes, you know, to kind of create a real visceral, you know, time capsule of that moment. You know? So it didn't feel too polished in that sense.
Does it feel interesting going back, probably like 15, 20 years back in time, and like retrospectively thinking about that, you know, that time when your dad died and the ensuing years? Obviously that's like a big thing to happen, and it kind of rolls out over a number of years, the way you feel about it and like your relationship with yourself about it. What was it like tuning into those different like stages? Because you have different stages when something like that happens.
Of course, I think it was only being on the road with the boys and really kind of opening up about it a lot more. It just felt like a correct time to do it, and I was just so inspired by them. You know, individually they're all incredibly, you know, just talented in such a way that it kind of just spurs you on in that sense. And I just felt like, well, now's the time to talk about this. And it became really cathartic, the whole thing. I mean, I know that's kind of cheesy to say, but it was like really brilliant for me. I never went to see a therapist or any kind of bereavement counselling, you know. And if you're on a waiting list with the NHS, or, you know, you don't have the money for it, write a record about it, because it's like it works, you know.
Yeah.
Feel really good, and it's also happening at a really odd time. You know, I'm a dad a month ago.
Yeah.
And,
Congratulations.
thank you. And it's been brilliant, but it's definitely brought up, you know, some big emotions for me, you know.
Yeah.
When I started opening up about it, I think a lot of my friends, you know, started confiding in me about their situations and stuff, and then it becomes a whole different thing where it's like a community's built through it, you know.
It's interesting how that works. You know, I often think like, okay, microcosm in like the smoking area, if you're telling someone you just got broken up with that day, they'd probably be like, oh, do you know what happened to me not that long ago? All of a sudden, you know, when you say something, it allows someone else to open up. Yeah.
Totally.
Speaking of which, shite jobs while working in bands. I think for a long time people were embarrassed to say they had another job, right? It wanted to be a full-time rocker on NME, on nme.com/new bands. I'm a big fan of like the work fuck ups. You know, I think when you're prioritizing playing in a band, you go to work at the expensive clothing store or wherever else at Bush Hall in the box office. Your head's not in the game. You fuck it up. Have you got any particular memories that we can drag up that maybe you'd rather forget?
Jesus.
Your cat.
Oh,
It's
yes,
Noxy
you.
No,
I must have one.
No, I was always so great at work. I just always stayed still. I was always on time.
Oh my god.
Turning up half an hour late is just the classic. That's the thing that you get fired for after doing it 10 times.
I mean, I've done all the classics, you know, like trays of pints, you know, all over the floor. But I was kind of lucky enough that my mate was kind of managing the bar, you know. So I feel like he let me get away with a lot of. I mean, I was literally the worst bartender of all time.
Yeah, I can share.
Were you there, Luciano? Do you get served by this guy?
It's shocking Guinness. You tried to sign it. It was terrible. I've accidentally dropped a glass of red wine on the bride's mother, which didn't
the bride's mother.
That is terrible.
Which actually is probably worse than the bride.
How did that happen?
I was just serving, and it's just like those trays, you know, when they get you to hold like way too many glasses on a tray, and you know, weirdly enough, at 17 years old, or 18 even, I didn't know how to serve alcohol particularly well, or have much experience in it. And I think just every time you take it off, it just kind of goes like
the
that.
weight distribution is serious.
Yeah. I think I worked at a barbershop reception once and offered someone asked if they wanted any ice in their beer, which again isn't it wasn't my fault.
Do you know ice in lager? I'm gonna put it on the record now. Having a German partner has got something to do with this, but like a spritzer, but with soda water, like a shandy, like a shandy with not lemonade. Too sweet. Bit of soda water and some ice.
Soda water. There we go.
Must try it.
Yeah.
I used to work at the race course in Exeter, serving pints, and just like the amount of people who are like, I'm not drinking that. Okay,
Yeah.
What about live? Because obviously, being like live music, one of the cool things about it is that things do not go to plan.
Yeah.
How do you deal with something like that on like such a large scale, like you've been playing the last few years? Like that, I mean, this is like talking about 101 jobs. Like this is a job.
Yeah.
It's a serious job that you want to be good at.
I mean,
you want to turn up for.
We've had a few. You know, of just like.
Well, we on our last run of gigs, we had in the second song, Jamie's snare breaking.
Oh yeah,
which wasn't super. It wasn't. It
was kind of the first run of shows.
It was the first one, yeah.
You know,
working how it works,
and it just went straight through. I mean, the support band just left. They were nowhere to be seen.
Classic.
You know, I was on the mic there, you know, trying to be cool, you know, And they're going, oh, where are the... And everyone's like, oh, the support band's gone, man.
I think it was the drummer had just gone,
Yeah,
which is a coincidence, that not the whole support band.
Yeah, no.
You said it then. Like, being in a band, you're supposed to be cool. But actually, everything behind it isn't very cool.
No.
And there should be a camaraderie around bands, We should be
Well,
running...
hopefully it is cool, but
Yeah.
when things happen, it's not cool.
Everything's running off like one power chord that someone bought about 7 years ago.
Yeah, big time.
That is on its last legs.
Yeah, I remember asking Jamie, when was the last time you changed that? He said he'd never changed it. So
Since 2007.
So since he bought the snare, which was years ago. So it was like
yeah.
it was
Nice.
Had a
great.
trigger on it. So.
Yeah, you're fine.
Appreciate the chat. I think these things are like a nice moment in time. Like, there's so much ahead of you.
I mean, we have the album coming out.
Yeah, January
January the 23rd.
There we go.
So, which will be incredible because I haven't had a vinyl out for years. So
you get the test press.
Yeah,
You're like,
we
hell
got
yeah.
it through the other day. It's such a buzz, I just
Literally, there's like the buzz of it.
So that's coming out, and then we have runner shows in January that are coming up, and just
Cool.
I can't wait to play it. Really
Awesome. Nice one. Thank you for the chat.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Wicked, man.
Nice one. Cheers for watching. This is 101 Part-Time Jobs. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, and all podcast apps. We've done interviews with Aurora, Kneecap, Idols, Lauren Maybury of Churches, and loads more. So tap into 101 Part-Time Jobs on Spotify, Apple, and all podcast apps.